What is Team 2? We all know communication and leadership are the key skills for job in the corporate world. The objective of Team 2 is to promote communication, collaboration, public speaking, social and leadership skills. Why Team 2? Through Team 2, we're connecting new generation. Team 2 is for collaboration. There are a lot of experience within the group itself. For higher studies or jobs, you can get guidance. People within the community can help each other. Team 2 is for communication. We have a planned approach for communication and skill development with projects. Team 2 is for leadership. We're interacting with leaders as guest speakers to our sessions and provide a chance for discussing with them. So set aside an hour every weekend for self-development. We have two streams at present, technology stream and communication stream. So please join and grow with us. Today we have three guest speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanan. Now let's call Dia. Dia, you are there, right, to introduce our.
Yes. Our first speaker is Dr. Suresh Bhat. He is working as a senior principal scientist in Polymer Science and Engineering Division in National Chemical Laboratory, Pune. Mr. Suresh did his MSc Physics from Cochin University of Science and Technology and did his MTech and PhD from IIT Delhi in the year 1993 and 1998. He did his postdoctoral fellowship at University of Tokyo, Japan, and continued his postdoctoral research at the University of Freiburg, Switzerland till 2006. He started working as a senior scientist at National Chemical Laboratory, Pune, and moved to principal scientist. From the year 2016, he has been working as a senior principal scientist. His research interests are structure and rheology of soft materials using scattering and imaging techniques, polymer physics, and laser spectroscopy. Dr. Suresh is living in Pune. His wife is a science teacher at Vidya Valley School and his two children, his daughter doing MA literature and his son in his 12th standard. Sir, we are honored to have you here with us. Over to you.
Thank you. I don't know how to get this going. Let me introduce. My name is Suresh. I'm from a place called Cherlai in Kerala, or you can say famous for Matancheri or Fort Kochi. So Cherlai is very close to Matancheri and Matancheri and Fort Cochin. I did my schooling in Gujarati Vidyalaya. There is a big Gujarati community in Matancheri. So there is a school named Sri Gujarati Vidyalaya. So I did my first to 10th in Gujarati Vidyalaya. And then I did my 12th and BSc in Physics from Cochin College, which is also in Matancheri. And thereafter, I did my MSc in Physics from Cochin University, where I met Ashraf. Ashraf was my classmate. Sindhu was my classmate. So after my MSc in Physics, I went to IIT Delhi to do an MTech in an applied optics program, which was a 1.5 year course, because I had interest. Although when I started, I never thought that science will be my career. It was more of a kind of by chance. Developing interest slowly. But right from school days, I had good interest in optics. Different colors, refraction, reflection, lenses. I was very fascinated with this optical field. So maybe, I don't know, that took me to do an MTech from IIT Delhi. So I did MTech and then later I joined for a PhD program in IIT Delhi itself. And then so that I used, basically my PhD was in turbulence in fluids. But all along, I used optical tools to understand whatever, even today, what I'm doing, I'm sticking to my strength, which is optics. So PhD was understanding the flow behavior, how a kind of laminar flow, once you increase the velocity, once you increase disturbance, in your system, how that develops into turbulence. So that was my PhD from IIT Delhi. There I learned a lot of things like how fluid gets into turbulent regime, how you can control turbulence by adding what are called drag reducing polymers and all. And then later I did a couple of postdocs, one in University of Tokyo, where I was studying, I moved from optics because I thought I'll use my knowledge of optics to understand different things in physics. Initially, PhD was in turbulence, and then later I shifted my gears to polymers. Polymers are, big molecules, which has a lot of relevance. Whatever you see in the world these days, you can see a lot of polymers around. Okay, there are biopolymers, there are artificial polymers you can synthesize. So polymers are everywhere, applied, highly applied. So I thought that I'll use my knowledge of optics to understand polymers. And then the postdoc was for 2 years in Japan. And then later I moved to Freiburg in Switzerland, which is kind of central Switzerland. It's a bilingual, both French and German speaking part, where I was working for a project which is food related. The postdoc was sponsored by Nestle company, where the idea was to understand interactions in food systems. I'll give you one example. When you look at any food, for example, even yogurt, if you are buying from Nestle or Amul, and if you look at the ingredient list, you can see some numbers. These are called stabilizers to improve the stability, life of the product. But these food companies, they don't really understand the science behind. Although the idea behind is to improve the stability, but certain instances you can see, if you open the can of yogurt, you can see layer of water on the top, which is called phase separation, which is not a good thing to see in foods. So my idea or the aim of the project in Switzerland was how to control this phase separation, how to get into good quality or good textured foods. Okay, maybe in a layman's point of view, I'll explain. For example, what I am working now, my area of interest is soft materials. Okay, soft materials means materials which are very soft. Even simple thermal fluctuations can alter the product property. Okay, so in a layman's language, what is a soft material? I can give you right from example of milk. When you start preparing yogurt, what you do is you start with milk, which is warm milk, in which you add a little bit of yogurt. Okay, milk is stable. Milk, you can imagine just like white globules, like tennis ball structure. You have hard structure and you have hairy layers on the surface. So these hairy layers that give the stability to milk. Okay, and milk is a fluid. Okay, it flows. But once you start adding a little bit of yogurt to it, what happens is that the pH of the milk start dropping. Okay, once the pH comes to around 5.3, the hairs will start collapsing, and this tennis balls are basically these are casein proteins in milk. There is nothing which can stop them from aggregating, because the hairs which were giving the stability to this milk is no more because of the pH drop, and this caseins start aggregating, one sticking to other, the second one sticking to the third one. You form a network of these caseins where the water content is trapped. Okay, so you start from milk, which is fluid, and yogurt is basically like a gel. Okay, so there are beautiful aspects which you can study, because at home you don't add any additives except for the little bit of yogurt. But in companies, in food companies, they add stabilizers which interact with this milk protein, and instead of giving stability, it can in fact reduce your stability. So the postdoc project was to understand how different interactions takes place and how you can control. And one more example, I don't think many of us must have learned this when we are studying science. Milk to yogurt is one process, okay, and cheese is another process. In yogurt, what we add is a little bit of yogurt, which the hairs start collapsing. But in cheese making, what they do is they add some enzymes which cuts this brush. Okay, so you get this casein stick together permanently. So you have a hard gel which is casein, hard gel which is cheese, and soft gel which is milk to yogurt. Milk to yogurt is soft gel. Milk to cheese is hard gel. Okay, so so there are beautiful things which maybe during our MSc or BSc we have never thought of what we can apply the science, knowledge of science to our studies. So these are interesting things which we are working on. We work on polymers for drug delivery systems. We are working on paint stability, because I'm a scientist in National Chemical Laboratory. In National Chemical Laboratory, we are basically working on industry relevant problems. It can be paint stability, it can be food stability, it can be there are some of my colleagues who are working on fuel cells. There are many aspects of we are part of all the big projects, but we are small teams contributing in different streams. Like my expertise is physics. I use optical tools to understand material properties, and then there are other groups which use chemistry aspect, because although I'm working in chemical lab, I hardly understand any chemistry, and this is one thing I really repent, because chemistry is very important, but I never understood anything about chemistry even today. Even simple bonds I don't understand, although I'm part of a chemical lab, but I still do physics. Okay, so physics for me is bread and butter. Okay, and as I said, it was not pre-planned that I'll become a scientist, but all along I had interest in science, and that grew with time, grew with my experience, grew with exposure. Like I went to my knowledge of science took me to, say, Japan, Switzerland. I could attend conferences, I could attend interact with great people, so that gave me inspiration to move forward. Otherwise this was not a planned path. I will say after MSc, then only I realized that that I should take science as my career, because it's very lively. You come up with new problems. Whatever you studied in your book is of no use unless otherwise you apply and see it for yourself how it works, right? So that is my story. Maybe we can start. Somebody wants to ask what I will say. There was nothing. There was not much inspiration, but all along the path I developed that interest. It's not that this was a planned move. Is it my time up, or maybe you want me to?
You can continue. You can continue a few more minutes.
Yeah. So my we have students here. We teach different courses. So my advice to the students is like, don't give up. You take up a career which you have serious interest in it. It's not like that, at some point of time you want to quit or you want to change path. I mean, it's always possible, but research is one field which is always interesting, always lively, For example, we come up, we see students on a daily basis. We teach them. They come up with a lot of interesting observations. So it's a very lively area for me, and I'm sure some of you who are listening here maybe thinking of taking science as a career. Of course, it's a very interesting field. Always you can. I mean, for me, it's very interesting. I'm sure that some of you who want to take science as a career will find it interesting. Maybe initially there will be a lot of problems you might be facing, but if you are very serious and very systematic in your approach and stick to your guts, that will take you to greater heights.
Okay, any questions? So in terms of, let me ask the question, in terms of research, right? See which area, see now we have research in physics, and within physics there are so many areas, and then chemistry, there are so many things, right?
Yeah.
So based on the, people are actually looking research as a, productive output, something for the industrial use and other things, right? Ultimately, it comes with the money is the output, right? So when you talk about the scope, how do a new person, right, who is actually from 12th or whatever, who wanted to get into, BSc, MSc, or ICER or any other engineering and get research, what is the best area to choose? How do somebody select?
First of all, see, I think the job scenario is good. It's not like it's bad. It depends on your interest. If you think that like you should do science, thinking that I should get a job, then we are not doing justice to science, right? Right. At this moment, I can say which area is better and all. But when we start, we don't know which area is better. But for me, right now, biology and chemistry, okay, plus physics, very promising field. If you look at the current scenario, biology is the most important, which we never thought that biology would be that. Some of my colleagues are doing biology in NCL. I never thought that they will be in limelight so quickly, but now biology is very important. Physics used to be kind of the stream people were looking for, but every area, when you start going deep, there is no hard boundary. Okay, you should know a little bit of I can't say that I can't do any chemistry. I'm in a chemical lab, so I have to learn some chemistry also. But if you are looking for example, if you are doing some theoretical work, the chance of getting job is basically in academics. Okay, I mean now there are companies which look for simulation people, theoretical people on road. But the more when we started, theory was considered to be kind of for academic purpose. Okay, the chances of getting jobs, whether in industry, whether in academia also, I think experimental physicists have a greater chance. But I mean, there is no hard and fast rule there also, but because the fields are wide open now. So ultimately, you should be very sincere. You should be able to get good results, publish in good journals. That matters. So I don't think I can give a clear answer to which area is better. Every area in science is very important. Ashraf, is that fine?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. When we start, when we study, we will have some interest. But I think once you start developing, once you start working on problems, you will notice that you have to have a knowledge of everything. You can't have just one particular field. So that I think you have to explore a lot of areas.
Is the recommendation is good for boys and girls equally?
What is that?
No. What I'm asking is what you suggested is equally good for boys and girls.
I mean, there is no kind of separation now. The girls are also equally good. If a student is good, if a student is bright, I think gender doesn't come in picture at all. Not at all. I mean, there are so many bright girls, women in science, not just in India. I mean, any field you take. So I don't find any gender inequality here. If you are good, you are good. That's it. Whether it is a man or a woman, they can excel. There is no disparity.
As far as Kerala concerned, mostly the parents advise some girls, you should not go for this, you should go for this. So that type of suggestion is there in Kerala from the parents.
I think
so
that is slowly going. I see situation changing. I remember when I was studying, getting a bank job or a insurance job was considered to be the ultimate thing. Even my parents used to tell me, go and join for typewriting class, all those stuff. Although I went for all this exam, but never I had taste in that. Okay. Now I can see many bright young girls and boys from Kerala doing very good science, and not only science, management. So they are exploring different areas. So that conservative approach is changing. It might take time because that was the situation in Kerala was like that. We were a bit conservative in our approach, but I think things are changing. I mean, one of the example is Harita is there. She can explain. They are all bright students whom we know. They are doing good in their areas. So I think this type of examples will definitely change the thinking of parents now. They will promote. In fact, we all should kind of try our best to communicate this to the parents in Kerala. I think things are changing. Used to be bad, but now things are much better now.
Yeah, it is being changed now. Yes. What you said is correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay. So I think you can ask if anything at the end of the session. We'll go to the second speaker. Dia, can you please introduce Harita?
Yes. Our next speaker is Miss Haritha Sindhu Rajeev. She is currently working as a PhD student in physics in University of Virginia, USA. She did a BS and MS from Indian Institute of Scientific Education and Research, Pune. She did her schooling from Calicut. Her father, Dr. N.E. Rajeev, did his PhD and is now a retired associate professor, HOD Physics from Zamarin's Guruvayurpan College, Calicut. Her mother, Mrs. Sindhu, is working as a senior assistant at National Insurance Company Limited, Kozhikode. She has an elder sister who did MD and DMB in Pulmonary Medicine, Government TB Hospital, Karaikudi. Ma'am, we are honored to have you here with us. Over to you.
Thank you, Dia. First of all, a big thanks to Mohammed Ashraf sir and all the coordinators of Team to Talk for giving me this opportunity to talk in this series. I'll introduce myself again. I'm Harita. I'm a native of Kozhikode, Kerala. Currently, I'm doing my PhD in University of Virginia in United States. My topic of research is physics and my subfield is condensed matter physics. My supervisor's name is Professor Shenkangli. I work on developing and analyzing materials, potential materials for photovoltaic applications like solar cells. I did my bachelor's and master's from Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Pune, or ISET Pune. I was planning to talk more about ISER during for this talk session. I'm sure that ISER was instrumental in fulfilling my childhood desire to pursue a career in research or to become a scientist. During my childhood, I looked up to my father, who is a physics professor in a college in Kerala. He was also a PhD scholar. He did his PhD in Inter-University Accelerator Center in Delhi. When he did his PhD, I was in my high school. So during our vacations, we used to go to Delhi and spend that time there for like 1 to 2 months. And I used to go to his lab, see what he is working on, explore, see the instruments, touch them. And that's when I realized how interesting it is to be in a research field. And I used to talk with some of his co-researchers, which was also very inspiring. So during my 10th standard, so in a society, it is a very important juncture to choose your field of interest. So I used to tell my parents that I want to pursue a career in pure science because my father is also in that field. So I knew how it works. I knew the basic structure. And I used to tell my parents that I need to pursue a career in science in institutes like ISER, IICs, or NISER. And I knew about these institutes because my sister, she attempted KVPY, which is a stream, which is an exam, which is like a passport to get into institutes like ISES and NISER. So, but she chose medical field. That was her interest. But though I had this deep desire to go for pure science, in our society, if you are interested in science, then you are expected to choose a field in medicine or engineering. So that time, against my desire, I also followed the trend. Along with my friends, I went to Professor P.C. Thomas entrance coaching classes, and I did my higher secondary schooling in a residential mode. And I have to say this, though my main focus was to qualify for a medical entrance examination, the coaching and the schooling gave me a very good foundation in science. And the foundation I got was more than enough. Like it really prepared me to attempt exams like other entrance examinations for engineering, KVPY, and ISER and NISER, etc. And finally, when the time came to choose my college, there was some confusion because I got into TKM Kollam since I qualified Kerala State Engineering. But I chose medical college in Bangalore, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Medical College for MBBS degree. But I was not that satisfied with all my results, the allotment and everything. But that was the I chose from my available options then. Then the moment the ISER result came, and I came to know that I qualified to ISER Pune, which was my first choice, immediately I told my parents, okay, let's withdraw this admission from the medical college. And they were also happy. They withdrew the admission because the admission process just started. It was not completed. And we withdrew the admission. And we told our decisions to our relatives and family friends. That is when a big discouragement came. Most of my relatives are not from a science background, so it's pretty understandable, the lack of awareness. But I was surprised when some of my father's colleagues who were physics professors or professors in science field, some of them actually scolded my father for sending me to ISER. So that was surprising. And that's when I realized, though we have well-established institutes in India, well-established research institutes in India, the awareness we have, no matter in which field you are, what job you are doing, the awareness is very less. This was the situation then in 2013, 2014, but the situation might have changed now. But I come from a very privileged family, so my parents can easily ignore this discouragement and send me to ISER Pune. It's my privilege, I understand that, but that's when I realized if these things can emotionally affect a person coming from such a family, then how hard it is going to be for a student, especially a girl coming from an underprivileged background. Anyway, I joined ISER and I joined ISER Pune. And when I joined in 2014, there were 5 ISERs. Right now, the numbers are more. I think there are 7 ISERs now. The ISERs are autonomous institute. There might be slight differences in the course structure, but the overall general course structure and the general aim on what to achieve from a student and how to orient a student is the same. Say in ISER Pune, for the first 2 years, you have to study all the science subjects. That's physics, maths, biology, chemistry, humanities and social science, and earth and climate science. And studying all these subjects is very important because in higher secondary, you get a very superficial idea on what all these subjects are. And as Suresh sir said, all the science subjects are very important. So in ISER, in your first 2 years, you get a deep insight on what all these subjects are. And this will give you an idea on which subject you will really enjoy learning, which subject you can actually flourish in with your maximum capacity. So for me, after my first 2 years, I took physics as my major. I have friends who came with an interest in physics, and then during their 3rd year, they chose maths or biology as their major. And after my 4th year, then we all have to do a 1-year project on our field of interest. And we get fellowships as well. During that time, each of us gets stipends every month, either through Inspire Fellowship or KVPY Fellowship. So I was an Inspire Fellow, so I got 5,000 rupees each month. So in ISER, you have 2 streams to get into ISER. One is to write the KVPY exam, and the other one is to write the BSMS dual degree exam. So I came through that exam, BSMS dual degree exam. So that's why I was an Inspire Fellow, and I got 5,000 rupees per month. And ISER and the Inspire Fellowship also supports any summer internships you would be doing. And these summer internships are very important because the course structure in ISER is such that it orients you to become a researcher. When you graduate out of ISER, you are a budding scientist. That is how the course structure is. Only like very few students opt for a totally different degree. Like some students, I have my friends who has opted for a completely different, for a master's in a completely different subject after graduating ISER. But most of us have gone for a PhD degree because that's how the institute mold you. That's how the facilities are, and that's how the course content is. And talking about summer internships, after my first year, me and most of my friends, we did a project in ISER itself, and I did under Professor Aparna Deshpande. And after my second year, I did a project in Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, under Dr. P.S. Anil Kumar. And after my 3rd year, that's when ISER opens you a platform to do summer internships abroad. ISER has very good student exchange programs with well-renowned institutes abroad. And those universities abroad will fund all your living if you're going for a summer internship abroad through these programs. And I did a summer internship in Pierre and Marie Curie University in Paris. And that is actually a short intro into what it will be like if you want to do a PhD abroad, because you will understand how different a culture can be from your country and how adaptable you are. So you will get an insight on that as well. And after my 4th year, I joined Dr. Surjit Singh in ISER Pune for my 5th year project. And my 5th year project mainly focused on studying the synthesis and physical properties of a material called pyrochloroiridates. And my work was published on a journal called Solid State Communications. And during my 5th year, I started applying for PhD positions abroad. That's when I realized that if you want to go abroad, how important your summer internships, your research experience in the field of physics, mainly experimental physics. This could be in general true for all the experimental fields. How important your research experience is, the labs you worked in, the professor you worked under in is important, along with your grades to get a position for PhD abroad. And in ICER, we have a residential mode of learning. And the facilities we have in ICER is very high-end research facilities. And for physics and ICER itself, we had scanning electron microscopy, scanning telic microscopy. These are like very important instruments we need to pursue, to do proper research in experimental physics. And we also had good funding in ICER. And in general, in India, in BARC, you have accelerated facilities as well. So we have these facilities. And also, if you see most of the professors in ICER and Suresh Bhat sir also, they have like they have done their PhD and postdoc, and they have like good collaborations internationally as well. So these internationally renowned professors are necessary, and their recommendation letters are also very valuable when you're applying for a PhD position outside. So ICER, the main aim of ICER is to take you through all these facilities, explore all the diverse options you have, and work under and be taught under these well-renowned professors, and be ready as a PhD candidate when you graduate. And I applied for PhD positions abroad, and I applied to Europe, US, and Canada. And I got positions from IFW Dresden, McMaster, Canada, and 2 universities from US, Florida State University and University of Virginia. I chose University of Virginia because the work there aligned with my research interest. And I joined University of Virginia in 2019. And University of Virginia is located in a place called Charlottesville. And Charlottesville is a very beautiful place. And it's not a city, it's a township built around the university. And I didn't feel a big transition moving from India to Charlottesville, because the climate-wise, culturally, there was a big transition, but climate-wise, it was okay, because in Charlottesville, you have a very pleasant climate. The climate is not harsh, and Virginia is known for its mountain. Virginia is a state of mountains. Sometimes I get the Maharashtra vibe there as well. I sometimes go for trekking as well. Coming to academics, universities support your living. I get stipend, and most of the students who go for PhD in arts and science in universities there are like me, Nazia. Nazia is also Nazia is my junior. So we both get stipend either through teaching assistantship or research assistantship. So for me, in my university, in my first year, it was compulsory that I do teaching assistantship, and I did teaching for my first 2 years. And from my 3rd year, I got research assistantship, and now I'm getting paid through that. And talking about my work, I mainly focus on developing materials for potential energy applications like solar cells. So solar cell is like taking light energy and converting to electrical energy. And my focus is to develop materials and analyze those materials and see how energy efficient they are, how well they can convert light energy to electrical energy with minimum energy loss. So our work is mainly funded by Department of Energy there. And we have collaborations with Oak Ridge National Laboratory and NEST. And I got an opportunity to do summer internship in Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And that experience is very valuable to me because one of my dream is to go there as a postdoc fellow. So the experience there increased my chance to get into that institute for my postdoc. And since I work on solar cells, I might get research opportunities in solar cell industries as well. So being a PhD candidate in US, I'll get a big opening into all these solar cell industries, which also like I have to explore more on that because I'm in my third year. So the options, the diversity in options being a PhD student abroad is more. And apart from that, culturally speaking, most of the universities has very good international acceptance. So there are many international students starting from their undergrad degree. So even when I was teaching in the university, I didn't face any racistic issues, nothing. I didn't face any of that. And the university was very welcoming. And if you see their cultural fest, these international acceptance also will be reflected in that. So if you are interested artistically, then you have options there to explore more. So one thing I want to add is that at this age, it is important that we explore a lot because I did my schooling in Kerala, and there like all the people I knew were from Kerala. Then I did my bachelor's and master's in Pune. From there, like I got to know all the people from different states. Now I do my PhD abroad. So now I know people from many different countries. So the contacts I have will be very helpful in my career development. And one more thing I want to add to the gender point is that as a girl, sometimes it's difficult if you want to go for higher education. Our society has reached to a point where job is important for a woman, but higher education is still a question mark. Because one thing my sister used to tell me is that if for an MBBS degree, if 75% of the students are women, then for an MD degree, then 75% of them will be men. Because our society has restriction on women to get married at this age. So they will complete an MBBS degree and then they'll get married and they will pursue a job based on that. So this is the same issue with ICER as well. If you see the number of girls in ICER, it is definitely improving, but the number is less compared to the number of male students that are coming. The main issue is in ICER, after you graduate, the opportunity you have, the main opportunity you have is to go for a PhD career. So PhD is an educational degree again. You can say that you got a job if you go for a postdoc or if you go for an industrial research. So that is an issue for many parents because of this women marriage concern. So what I want to say is, if your daughter or if you're a girl, if you want to pursue, if you want to go for higher education, push yourself hard, and parents let them push their hard and don't let the societal conditioning restrict them. That will like always reflect in our families, but I think we should not let that restrict them. So at least at this stage, the society has improved a lot, so they can push themselves hard for a higher education degree, rather than settling for an early job, getting married, and be settled as a family. That's all what I wanted to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Harita. It was a very good message.
Yeah. You are a great inspiration for the upcoming students.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay, thank you. It's a very good talk too.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we'll come back to the questions at the end. So we have one more speaker to go. So Dia, can you please introduce Ms. Naziya?
Our next speaker is Ms. Naziya Velyakat. She is a PhD student in mathematics in Oklahoma State University, USA. She did a BS and MS from Indian Institute of Scientific Education and Research, Pune. She is from Tirur, Kerala. Ma'am, we are honored to have you here with us. Over to you.
Thank you, Dia, for the introduction, and thank you, Ashraf, for inviting me. I'm very glad to be here today. So first I have to say Harita told almost everything and she spoke really well. So I am confused. What will I say now? So I'll just talk. So our paths has been kind of similar, but there are like few differences between our journeys, like the background we are coming from and the topics we are studying, those kind of things. So I'll just talk few words about that. So I'm from Malappuram, Tirur. So when I was in high school, I liked science and like I was a good student and of course I liked science, and then but I didn't have a clear view of what I want to study. But then in 11th and 12th, so the straight path in Kerala is like you choose science as your major, and I chose science for 11th and 12th. Then also I was like really confused, but I wanted to I wanted to go to a good institute or good universities for higher education. I had so I liked mathematics and physics more when I was in 11th and 12th. So I thought maybe I'll go for engineering. So the thing is that my background is totally different from Harita's, my family background, because my parents, I'm a first generation student. My parents, they only went to like till 8th grade or something. So they didn't have the opportunity for higher education that time. It's not like they didn't want to, like the cultural, because of the societal pressure, they couldn't pursue higher education. But I had one advantage, that was that I had like 3 elder siblings. So I could like see how they are studying, how their future is going, and act and ask them for advice, all those things. So my parents had no idea what I have to study or what I should study. So in the, like Harita said, in Kerala, the trend during then was like, if you are good at studying, you become an engineer or you become a doctor. But I knew that I didn't want to be a doctor. My parents asked me like if I want to do that, then I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So after 12th, I wrote all the entrance examinations, and during giving the entrance examinations, when I was studying for the exams, that's when I realized it's not that I want to become an engineer. It's like I really like studying physics and mathematics. So maybe why don't I study it in its purest form, these subjects in their purest form. So I learned about ICER, NICER, and such institutions which give scholarship for students. And like in our tuition center, the entrance coaching center, they were like really supportive to go to this kind of institutes. So I wrote ICER entrance exam, and I got into ICER. When I got into ICER, it was like kind of a, I don't like, not a big cultural shock, but then there were a lot of Malayali population in ICER. Like I met Harita and so many other students. Harita was 1 year senior to me there. And like there were students from like Tamil Nadu, Kashmir, like every parts of India. So when I was in ICER, so I thought I will choose physics as my major. But then even in the first semester, we had a course. So I will talk more about why I chose mathematics. So we had a course named Introduction to Proofs. So this course really motivated, it opened my mind to the world of mathematics. So until then, I had no idea about maths research. I used to wonder, what does mathematicians do? Like, what do they have to do? Like, I learned some math in 11th and 12th, but that doesn't expose you to, that doesn't give you an exposure to the field of research in mathematics. So this course, which so the way mathematics research is working is that, like, you have a theorem, everything is true only if there is a theorem, and you need a mathematically written proof so that the theorem will be true. So all those things I started understanding, and I really liked the rigorousness of the subject. So I decided that I will major in mathematics. So in summer, I did a reading project in mathematics. So the thing about maths research is that there is a 2000 years old history of math. Like, people have been doing it from a very, very old age. Like, it is one of the oldest subject. So to get to a point where you can do maths research, like to do something on yourself in the area, it takes so much time. So initially, when I was in ICER, most of the time I was doing readings of like what our past mathematicians, what they have contributed, like their works. So in summer, I used to do reading projects, and then in my third year of ICER, after my third year of ICER, I got an opportunity to do a project in IISc, Indian Institute of Science. There, I was doing the project under a professor, Pooja Singla. So working with her, I was not doing like a pure research with her. I was reading something under her, but I really like maybe she is a woman in mathematics, so maybe that helped me to relate to her more. Like, I really like the I got to see a day she has in her life. Like, she talks to other mathematicians, she discusses math with them, she they go to seminars, and they have workshops and all those things. I really like the culture they had. So that really inspired me, and that is one reason which made my mind that, okay, maybe doing research in math, continuing in this field will not be that bad. So for my 5th year, I chose a mathematics project. It was in representation theory. So talking about representation theory has been around like since 1900s. It's about symmetry. So representation theory is being used actually in many fields like chemistry and physics. It's very important in particles physics, how particles particles have like different how they reduce. These kind of things are related to representation theory. So after my 5th year, I applied to PhD programs. I wanted to continue research in the area. So for mathematics research, I would say US might be the first option for PhD program, because it has a 5-year program of PhD. In Europe, you will get like 3 or 4 years. That is little less to do like a math research. Like, it will be difficult to do math research in like 3 or 2 years. So even in here in US, people take like more than 5 years to finish their PhD in math. So while doing PhD, you will be working on a problem. Like for first year in US, the system is that first year you will be taking core courses in math, and then you choose an advisor. So I just finished my first year, and I chose an advisor in number theory area, and I have will start working with the advisor. Like, I have started reading his papers, and then they will give you a problem, or like if you're really good, then you can find your own mathematical problem, and then your advisor will help you to solve the problem, and that's your PhD thesis. So yeah, we work on like one problem for 4 years. That is one wonder of math research. And the future we have in math is that mathematics research is it's used in many industries. So I'll give you one example. Like the area I am working on right now is called number theory. It's about studying equations with numbers and stuff. So this kind of equations can, like, we look at the solutions for these equations. So these are really important in industries when it comes to like optimization problem. You finally, most of the time you end up in an equation, and you'll have to find solutions for this equation. So chemists and physicists and all, they won't have time to find the solution for this equation. That's what mathematicians do. Like, what we like is to like in number theory, what we do is we look at the equation and see if it has a solution or if it doesn't have a solution. I'll give you a good example, like about solving equations. So there is a theorem called Fermat's last theorem. It's the equation x square plus y square equals z square. It's about how many integer solutions these have. So, 4 square plus 3 square equals 5 square. So you already know that if you put the value 4, 3, and 5 for x, y, and z, you have a solution for this equation. But Fermat, like in 1500, he wrote in his book that the equation x cube plus y cube equals z cube doesn't have a solution. I have a proof for this solution, but proof for this problem, but the border of my page is too small to write the proof. So that's what he wrote. It's not only about x cube and like all the higher powers than 2. So that's what he talked about. But then mathematical world was like searching for the proof for this equation for a long time. And after 250 years of mathematical research, a mathematician called Andrew Weiss. He is an English mathematician. He solved it in 1990. So it took 250 years to solve one such equation. So we have wonders like that. Like sometimes the problem looks very trivial and very accessible to public, but then the solution will require very different kind of mathematical techniques. So this is about this what I have to talk about number theory. And number theory is also used in things like cryptography, like decryption and encryption. Decryption and encryption are, it's like more, it's more about it's the core is you have to find a number at the end. So these numbers are hidden, like crypted in the form of equations which are very difficult to solve. That's decryption and encryption system. It's the base of everything we like, all the most of the technologies we use right now, like internet and all those things. So that's about the applications of number theory. So I have just started doing my PhD right now, and about the life in US. So we have, like Harita said, there is a very high number of international students in almost all universities here. So you will have a good exposure to their culture. It's a very good opportunity, like I would say. So you will have friends from like countries which I never even thought about, like I have a friend from Ecuador, and I have a friend from Costa Rica. Like that, like it's very surprising, like when you understand about their culture. And yeah, so the university, and one difference is that in ICER we have a very closed community. There were, I think, like about 2,500 students. But here we can experience a university life. There are like 25,000 students here, and there are many activities, many fests, and there are so many opportunities to interact with international students. Yeah, that's about the life here, and you get a good opportunity to travel. That is one advantage. So when you have workshops and conferences, you get good funding here to attend all those conferences. So you can attend those and you can travel to different places. I think in India, if you are doing research in India, like mathematics research in India, it's really good. It has a good history, but then the funding you will be getting might not be that good for like everything you want to do. Like if you want to go for some conference like outside India, it will be very difficult to get funding. But that problem you won't have here. Yeah, that's about the doing PhD in US. Yeah, that's all I have to say. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Nazia. It was wonderful. Yeah. So, anybody else has any questions to Harita, Nazia, Suresh? Anybody? And one question I wanted to ask is, see, when you do the BSMS in India versus if you do that in US, right? You know, the lab facility and the faculty and the exposure. So, you know, I think you have gone now for research. But, you know, do you think it will be better if you go for the bachelor's and master's in US, you know, than doing in ICER? You know, how do you compare that? Do you have any suggestions?
Okay, I would say my point of view. One thing is that I feel like I was 25 years old when I moved to US. So it was like a huge cultural shock for me in here. So, and it took like a whole one semester to adjust with the country. So I was thinking, if I did my bachelor's in India and I came for a master's in US, it would be like more difficult, right? I was like more young at that age, so it would have been more difficult for me. And the fact that we are like far away from the family, that is also there. So now I think this so that is one thing. So I think it's about the comfort you have. But you really want to, if you really want to pursue higher education and like being away from your family, all those things are not a problem. Then after doing bachelor's, coming to do here masters, it will be like very different, and it will be like much better. Like you will have here in US the exchange student program. They get like surprisingly high funding. They have like so much money going to all these things. So you will have like more opportunities, of course. So if you can do that, that would be good in my opinion, I think. Even for bachelors. But I would say, coming to do bachelors here, you will be in such a young age. You will be coming here when you're 18. That is, I feel like it's too young to come here, and it's too young to be like that away from your family. But that, if that's not a problem, then yeah, I would say that is the best option.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ashraf, maybe I'll have a point to make here, because both of them were talking in a student point of view. Maybe I'll have much more to share as a teacher or maybe as a scientist. For me, I will say that institutes in India now has improved a lot. Whether you take ICER, IITs or IIScs, the kind of funding, the kind of infrastructure we have now, I'm not talking in terms of the building, but in terms of the facilities which we have, and the kind of the teaching background. If you look at any universities in the US, you can definitely see some students from IITs doing great science. Okay, the kind of training which our students are getting from these institutes is amazing. And these students are in high demand abroad. When I was doing my postdoc in Switzerland, my supervisor used to tell me, bring some student from IIT Bombay or IIT Delhi or IIT Chennai, and they are more than happy to accept them. So the quality of training which we are giving to our students is amazing. So I mean, for me, if you get a good background in India, like BTech or ICER background, that will be much better than doing what Nazia has told, like you will be kind of lost at the young age in going to US and doing something. I think you get much better exposure here, maybe a little bit of hardships, but that will take you, that will shape you better after doing this in India and going for higher studies in US. My personal feeling is that our students are much better off these days. They get good training, they get good exposure, experimental as well as theoretical exposure, and that exposure will help them later.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Exactly, that's it.
Anybody else? Any questions? Okay, so I will invite Dia to give a note of thanks.
It is a great opportunity to give feedback for this Team 2 session. First of all, I thank the organizers of Team 2. The whole organization of the session was very engaging and memorable. It started with a welcome speech by Ms. Hanan. Thank you, Hanan, for the wonderful welcome speech. Then we had the guest introduction. I thank Dr. Suresh for his time to deliver the speech and was very much engaging and effective. Thank you so much, sir. Our sincere thanks to our second speaker, Ms. Harita, whose speech was also amazing. And thank you, Ms. Nazia, for gracing our session with your wonderful words. Last but not the least, I thank all our audience and guests who were in the session and made the session a wonderful experience. Any feedback from the guest speakers today?
It was a very good session. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nice. I mean, it
With
was
this,
very
the session
interesting to
24
hear from the students as well. Your experience, it's much more interesting because you can give much more feedback to the young generation. So your inputs and your experience, I'm sure that inspire other students also to take that path.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you. With this, session 24 is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, Harita. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best.
Thank
and then
you.
I think we'll meet you after the PhD. And you can join us. See, we have this weekly session most of the Sundays. Next week we have on Saturday, but most of the days we have Sunday same time. So you are welcome to join us. If you are free. And it is going in leadership stream and other one in technology stream. So right now actually I was trying to get a variety of people from other science and other streams. So even though we have a less community in this particular session, we'll be recording the speech and then probably it will be watched later by other people. We are around 300 people in our community. So thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashraf.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.